I am Joy Fleming. I'm a member of the Social Justice Committee. As we gather here on Zoom with our fellow congregants and friends, let us take a few breaths together and enter this time of worship as one. Chase will now light the chalice. Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back.
Good morning. I am Chase Wilson Roper. This morning's call to worship is attributed to Chief Noah Seattle. This we know. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know. All things are connected, like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Our special music today is performed by Susan T. Mashiyama of Susan's Harp Songs.
Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient your tears. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I taste your tears. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I taste your tears. Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient mother, I taste your tears. Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient mother, I taste your
And some of us have that chant in our minds right now. Chase.
You can say these words with me. This is our affirmation of faith. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its call. This is our covenant. Dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now, Jonathan is going to give us some readings.
Good morning, everyone. I have two brief readings. The first is by Dorothy Day, a journalist and social activist for much of the 20th century. People say, she said, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts and words and deeds is like that. No one has the right to sit down and feel hopeless. There is much work to do. The second reading is from Cameron Wake. He's a research professor at the Earth Systems Research Center at the University of New Hampshire. Dealing with climate change requires us to both prepare for the changes we know are coming, or adaptation, and reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases to minimize the amount of future change, or mitigation. Several positive trends in adaptation and mitigation suggest that climate change is the innovation opportunity of the 21st century. In summary, it's real, it's us, it's bad. But scientists agree there is still hope for the future.
This morning's social justice candle will be read aloud in real time by Joel and Ann Huberman.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear us. This is a good news candle.
Our inspiration for climate activism is that we have 3 grandchildren. We love them dearly. We want to leave a habitable world for them, their descendants, and all humanity.
Sometimes we find climate news to be full of doom and gloom, but today we want to bring you some good news. Ann Fisher has been researching solar energy, and here is what she found.
Solar installations are on the rise here in New England, as well as across the nation. In fact, there are over 3 million solar energy systems now installed in the US, 117 of which are in Peterborough. Our nation is now getting 80 times more of its electricity from solar energy than it was just 10 years ago.
To take this a step further, there's now more solar power being installed in the United States than any other form of energy. Wind is second, and natural gas a distant third. If this keeps up, it's estimated that 300 gigawatts of new solar will be installed in the United States over the next 10 years. That's 3 times greater than the amount installed through 2020. And it is the equivalent of about 300 brand new, full-sized nuclear power plants.
What stimulates all this solar? It's strong policies on the federal, state, and local level. For example, Massachusetts recently doubled the amount of solar allowed in its incentive program.
Right next door to our church, the Peterborough Town Library's solar installation is complete and operational. It will generate over 75,000 kilowatt hours of electricity every year, offsetting the equivalent of driving a gas-powered vehicle 134,500 miles in a single year. And oh yes, these solar panels will save the library more than $300,000 over their lifetime.
You might ask, what can you do? For starters, and on a local level, you can support strong renewable energy policies, such as the proposals in Peterborough to have 100% renewable electricity by 2030 and to be carbon neutral by 2050.
So let us resolve to act together in the many constructive ways promoted by the UU Green Sanctuary program to leave a beautiful, pollution-free, sustainable world for our grandchildren and for all humankind.
Thank you. This month's special collection for UU Action New Hampshire. Donations to UU Action New Hampshire will be matched by our PUUC Social Action Fund. If you are joining us for the first time, please write your name in the chat box and know that your virtual presence with us today is gift enough. Now we will listen to Deb Nunes playing the offertory for the Earth Forever Turning.
For your generosity today and every day, we give thanks. David Fleming will now present a mindful moment.
Hello. Let's talk first of all about meditation and then do one. Meditation is such a powerful link between thinking and the way our automatic functions work. And by automatic functions, I mean mood, and I mean salivation, for example. If you build an image in your mind, we often salivate, and that shows that there's a direct link between the way we think and the way we build images in our mind that can change the way our automatic functions actually work. And of course, by automatic functions, I'm including mood, I'm including motivation. And I think right now we're thinking about green issues. And so here we are with big habits of what we do with our lives, which may not be particularly environmentally friendly. And if we want to change that, we can build the change using a meditative process. So let's do a meditation now. And that will hopefully lead us onto a method by which we can review whatever we do. So let's take charge of the easy one first, which is breathing. We don't think about breathing much, but hey, we can take charge of it. Take a deep breath, hold it for a minute, let it out again, and notice that we took charge of an automatic function. Let's do muscle tone now. I'm going to sit with my head balanced. I'm relaxing my muscles. Muscle tension is an automatic thing too. And here I am, and here you taking charge, which is great. Now let's build an image in our mind. Let's build the image. It's going to include everything we might do to help reduce climate change. How about solar panels on roofs? How about windmills? How about insulating our homes, preventing drafts, turning the heating down so that we wear sweaters instead of having a high temperature in the house? These are all images which we build that can change our motivations. And then think of an image of our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, and they are alive and enjoying life because of the changes that we made in ours. And I think that is just beautiful. Please build those images in the same way that I am right now, and rest peacefully for the next moment or so while you let these images sink in and change the way our memories have shaped what we do and the way our motivations will guide the future. Thank you, and peace to us all.
And it is called A Vessel So Sacred. Those who take over the earth and shape it to their will never, I notice, succeed. The earth is like a vessel so sacred that at the mere approach of the profane, it is marred. And when they reach out their fingers, it is gone. For a time in the world, some force themselves ahead, and some are left behind. For a time in the world, some make a great noise, and some are held silent. For a time in the world, some are puffed fat, and some are kept hungry. For a time in the world, some push aboard, and some are tipped out. At no time in the world will one who is sane overreach, overspend, or overrate.
Thank you, Chase. We look to the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism to guide our participation in religious life and to guide participation in civic life away from the church. As we explore these principles, each becomes a summation of any combination of the other 6. One can't respect the interdependent web of all existence without believing in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, or believing in a free and responsible truth for truth and meaning. To accept one another and encourage spiritual growth in our congregations, we must uphold the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and believing in justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. It works that way with all 7 principles. You can't uphold the right of conscious and democratic process within our congregations and society without respecting both the interdependent web of all existence and the interconnectedness of all those principles. So, if we place one of those principles in the foreground this morning, it's not to ignore the others, but to highlight how the 7th ties in with the others and each of us in the most spiritual of ways. The 7th principle of Unitarian Universalism is respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. Today, we explore how we can live that principle by inspiring a recommitment to this church, its individual members and friends, to living the values of that 7th principle in a number of ways. First, some history. Our church earned Green Sanctuary status from the Unitarian Universalist Association in 2009, and as noted in a Crescent article a little while ago, while we have been living up to our commitment in various ways for more than a decade, the Social Justice Committee agrees that it is time to renew our status. We've been living up to it and, in some areas, doing even better than we have in the past. But some of the practices we've instituted have slipped in their implementation. Because of our busy lives, expanding commitments to other causes, new ways of online socializing, and the constant onslaught of media, new and traditional, it is no surprise that we sometimes take our eye off the target of living lightly on the earth. But take a walk through your favorite local wood after a recent snowfall, with light filtering through from a blue sky, and steep yourself in the sounds of the forest. Then, the reason for living lightly, for doing what we can to preserve this beautiful world for our grandchildren and successive generations, as Anne and Joel and David all spoke about, comes right back into sharp relief. This beautiful planet deserves our attention. We need to be its caretakers. The UUA has stated that the ongoing degradation of the environment is a clear and present threat to the human species and the web of life that our 7th principle holds so dear. This threat, says the UUA, is the urgent, overarching survival and justice issue of our time, calling us to impactful action now. We all recognize that climate mitigation needs to happen on all levels, global, national, and local. I have great gratitude and admiration for all those working towards big changes, the scientists, leaders, and politicians of our world who promote the reduction of carbon fuels, who encourage and legislate the meaningful reduction of mixed plastics in packaging and unnecessary consumption of single-use plastics, who work toward societal change. While changes are happening, albeit slowly, on a global level, we can do what we can do to make changes on the local level. That's why we are redoubling our efforts to help reduce the churches and congregations' carbon footprint by renewing efforts to make environmentally sound buying decisions, look for ways to reduce our use of fossil fuels, and share the small ways we can all collectively have an impact at home and in our day-to-day lives. Even if we recycle in our own home or work, we recognize that there's always more that we can do. Some of us can, as we are able, have an impact by spending a little more on milk that comes in glass containers, eating a more plant-based diet, or by investing in socially responsible funds. Others of us might join efforts to remove single-use plastics from the waste stream or volunteer to help clean up the beaches along our fragile coastline. Whatever your ability or desire, it does take a little forethought and effort. A fan of singer-songwriter and environmental activist Pete Seeger once sent him a statement from the Berkeley, California Zero Waste Commission asking him to turn it into a song. If it can't be reduced, reused, repaired, rebuilt, refurbished, refinished, resold, recycled, or composted, then it should be restricted, redesigned, or removed from production. Of course, Seeger did turn it into a song, but as he has said, songs won't save the planet, but neither will books or speeches. He said, participation, that's what's going to save the human race. It's the pebble in the pond story. What each one of us does every day has a far greater influence over society and the globe than we may think. I'm so impressed by the local, or not local, global perhaps. I'm impressed by the buy nothing and free cycle movements, ways to connect on social media to get rid of your unwanted things by giving them to someone who wants those things. Our family has received rugs, wrapping paper, sewing supplies, and given away books, clothes, furniture, and a vacuum cleaner. All this is stuff that didn't go into landfill and didn't require one more thing to be manufactured. And so we want to participate, and we are asking you to participate at home or on our task force to support the UUA's renewed effort to work for climate justice. It has been named Green Sanctuary 2030 as a response to the 2018 UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. The report says that to prevent increasingly catastrophic and irreversible trends, global net emissions of carbon dioxide need to fall 45% from 2010 levels by 2030. Here's how we can begin the process to become reaccredited and help reduce those CO2 emissions to save the planet for succeeding generations. The Green Sanctuary Task Force will review where the church is currently, write a plan, and complete projects in environmental justice and climate justice, in worship and celebration, and in religious education and sustainable living. This service acts as one of those projects by introducing the congregation to our plan and inviting interested members or visitors to become involved. There are 5 stages to the reaccreditation process. Build a team and educate the congregation. Calculate the congregation's carbon footprint and discover where and what kind of environmental stewardship is taking place in our church community. Design campaigns to adapt to climate change and fight for environmental justice. Put an action plan into practice. And if approved for reaccreditation, share our story with other congregations and organizations and review and adjust it on a regular basis. But this isn't just about reaccreditation. It's about doing good work to sustain clean beaches, clean potable water, air to breathe, and a beautiful blue planet that can sustain all the life the universe has placed here. As much as we want to live individual lives that promote and protect our natural surroundings and resources, we also need to inspire our neighbors and friends to do the same, if we have any chance of reversing the trend of environmental degradation. We need to carry this work out into the community and lead by example. Many of you have already instituted green practices in your lives, and we hope we'll all be inspired to perform self-assessments at home, write plans, and implement them to further cut back on our individual carbon footprint and live more sustainably. As fantastic as it is to put solar on your own roof, purchase syrup in glass and beverages in aluminum containers to cut back on single-use plastics, weatherproof our homes in winter, we are betting there are many other ways to reduce our carbon footprint. We're asking you to send your suggestions so we can create a comprehensive list on the church website. Information is in the cresset and will be available on a slide near the end of the sermon. There are also ways of having more of an impact. Supporting Peterborough's or your town's move toward renewable energy, or joining a statewide coalition to eliminate single-use plastics from the waste stream entirely. For example, last year, 2 New Hampshire House measures to ban single-use plastics and give individual towns the ability to ban certain plastics failed in the Senate, so the efforts are continuing. Another opportunity lies with your family's investments. The church has invested its endowment in socially responsible and green funds, and some of us have done that with our own retirement and investment plans. That's one effective way of making a pro-environment change that anyone can make. And as Jonathan mentioned, our Cameron Wake, who was a Lyceum speaker, UNH professor, and a leader of Climate Solutions New England, as he has said, changing your investments to green and socially responsible investments is the single most important action that any of us can take. Another example close to home, the property committee has been looking into replacing the kitchen's gas stove with an electric unit. And eventually our oil burning furnace will have to be replaced, possibly by reconfiguring the layouts of parts of the pellet boiler. 2 more impactful ways of living our 7th principle as a congregation. Now we'd like to hear from you on 2 questions. And there is a slide coming up that shows these questions as I read them, and also the email where you can send your responses. These questions and the email are also in the cresset. What actions do you take in your home to reduce, reuse, and recycle? What actions would you like to be doing to reduce your carbon footprint and decrease your impact on the environment? And you can send your responses to greensanctuary@uupeterborough.org. You can send those responses anytime this week. And again, you can go back to the Cresset to get these questions and the email address. Activism by those of us who are able becomes particularly important. It is just one way to add your opinions and voice to help convince others. It creates community and upholds justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. When accomplished peaceably with a common goal in mind, it can save our futures. Funny how that second principle slipped back in. And when we do, for example, show up at a demonstration, bringing attention to the existential threat of climate change, we accept our fellow people and maybe even encourage spiritual growth. We might even say these actions uphold the aims of world community with environmental justice for all. Thank you.
Below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue